All right, folks, here we are. It is dark. It is Maru here in the lower bracket round 4 of TSL 8. We have a resurgent Dark. Maybe not the best Zerg in the world again, but still he's back up there against a Terran player who has won his last 4 tournaments in a row. Looks untouchable in this matchup. But before we get into that a little bit too much, first of all, I'd like to remind you all to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff here. It really helps us out in the channel. Really make sure that we're able to keep doing things like this. And also, if you want access to the replays of the events that we put on, make sure to check us out on Patreon. That link will be in the description below. But now, let's talk about these players in the upper right. In the blue, he is, for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, Dark. And at the bottom left, in the red, the best Terran player in the world, some might say the best player in the world, he is Maru. And enough cannot be said about the sheer level of play that Maru is showing in this matchup right here. Well, we haven't seen this game yet, but his current form of this matchup is absolutely insane. Anyone who didn't get a chance to take a look at the grand finals of King of Battles 2, probably some of the greatest games ever played there. Maru just showing why it is so damn hard for any Zerg to ever take a game off this man, because Maru, he can do the aggressive thing. We didn't see it as much in the King of Battles games as we've seen it elsewhere, to be fair, but I mean, we saw it in the semifinals against Rogue, so we're still fine on that. He can be aggressive, to be fair, but his big thing that we look at is, wow, if this game goes past 15-20 minutes, it almost feels impossible to beat this man. He's so good at trading at the level he needs to be. He's so good at keeping his ghosts alive. And if you're able to keep your ghosts alive, well, you're able to just find so much value. Everyone talks about the efficiency of spellcasters. This is one of the reasons why Broodlord Infestor was so problematic, because if you're trading energy for minerals and gas, eventually, I mean, the minerals or the energy regens, the mineral and gas, there's only so much of it on the map. Yeah, it's not as bad as Swarmhost, but still, I guess Swarmhosts were kind of an energy idea, except they just didn't have the energy. They would just go off time. Anyways, as we will see Reaper go down there. Nice micro from Maru. But the interesting thing about this matchup is it very much pairs kind of two, I'm not going to say polar opposites, but maybe 90-degree opposed styles between Dark and Maru, because again, we talked about this. Maru, he has his aggressive tendencies, but he's just really good at that late game idea, the ability to sandbag the game out, take it late, out trade with ghosts, and eventually, you know, take the entire map, make it just impossible for the Zerg to win. Dark is two things. Well, he's more than two things, but one, he's a Roach boy. He loves his Roach play, and Hardwire has actually been a map that we have seen Zerg players really start to experiment with this Roach max, or more importantly, this 1/1 Roach into rather quick lurker +2 lurker tech. And Dark is a player that really enjoys this, so we're gonna have to see whether we see him go for that on this map here. But B, he is one of the best Zerg players in the world at actually playing a cost-effective Zerg style. Or, to put it another way, to play a low-eco Zerg style. They're kind of two sides of the same coin, where if you're playing that low-eco style, you're gonna have to do it somewhat cost-effectively, because, well, that's what you gotta do. But it looks like it's just a 1-1-1 standard third base opener here from Maru, as he goes for battle cruisers behind this. So as much as I say standard opener, he's got a little bit too much gas for that right now. So battle cruiser will be the tech of choice, and this is one of those interesting things where we see a player like Maru, 9 times out of 10, you know, it's gonna be Hellion Banshee. 99 times out of 100. Maybe a little bit less, because he is a fan of this 2-rack style against particular players. Cyril, for example, he really enjoys going for that 2-rack style, whether it's the Beyond, or excuse me, the TY build. You do get a third base behind it. The 2 racks, it's a little bit later. It's got 2 Hellions, or whether it's going to be your more traditional 2-base 2-1 that hits right around 5 minutes. So he enjoys that, but in general, you know, it's going to be some semblance of this 1-1-1 third base play. And honestly, all the Dark has seen is maybe a dearth of Hellions, which might make him think this is a 2-on-1. But other than that, he hasn't really seen all that much. And considering how uncommon battle cruises are in the meta right now, Well, this is going to be interesting, at the very least, for Maru. Or I should say for Dark, because he's not going to be expecting this. That being said, he did open with Roaches. And while he only got 4 defensively, he really has not been leaning into Roach play all that much. Although these Roaches are getting a little bit adventurous across the map, as he will have 6 running over. But there's just too much on the ground right now for this to really do too much of things. I mean, playing around with the line of sight blockers is going to be something. And he is going to be able to trade away at least some of these ground units. But you got to remember, Roaches like this, they're meant to hopefully trade cost effectively at this stage of the game. They haven't really done that. But B, the important part of this tech for Maru is not the Hellions. It's not the Viking. Although even if it's a landed Viking, it is the battle cruiser that's popping out right now. And of course, it is nice to have those additional Hellions, so you can run into the third as the battle cruiser runs into the main and force some difficult decisions out of the Terran player or out of the Zerg player. But still, you know, it's not quite what you're looking for, but it is a lot better than what you would get in kind of your typical, I'm going to run Roaches across the map when a battle cruiser shows up, which we may still see happen here from Dark. As the battle cruiser showed up and it's teleported in, it cannot be back home. It cannot do anything defensively. So we're going to see it run away for the Queens here, get as many drones as it can. And, you know, 6 is actually going to be rather nice here. We didn't see any drones get pulled. But the question now is, what is going to be the counter pressure coming in from Dark in this game? Now, it looks like Maru is going to stick on 1. He says, I only need 1 battle cruiser in this game. It is kind of like a Banshee. It's just a pressure build. It's a lot tankier than a Banshee, certainly. But right now, the only goal is to put pressure on them out, to kill some drones, be pretty happy with that and go from there. And of course, behind this, we do have 1-1. We have Stim, we have combat shields. All those important things that a Terran player considers necessary to play a game of Bio. And again, we're seeing these Roaches run across the map and not get much done. Of course, it's about more than just the Roaches here. Sling's going to find their way into the main base, into the natural. 2-3 workers will go down, but again, Maru, he's getting damage done. Battle cruisers, and he's just not taking all that much. Losing a Hellion here, a Hellion there, a couple Marines. That is going to be more than acceptable for a Maru that really has not taken much economic damage. 3 STVs at this point in the game is nothing. It's chump change, especially when you're dropping 3 mules at a time to replace that. But of course, Dark has kind of realized the way this game is going as well. He knows how Maru wants to play, and he knows the damage he took. I mean, it's not significant, but it's something. You know, losing those, what is that, 8 Roaches, 6 Roaches, 10 Roaches, and losing 7 drones. I mean, that's not great. It's not game-ending damage, but it's something. But considering Maru's proclivities in this series, we already see Dark getting ready to move into that lurker tech. We see the Hive halfway done, 3/4 of the way done at 7 minutes 30. He's not really taking the time to max out because Dark isn't, or Maru isn't really building an army that needs to be maxed out against. Although the interesting thing here is it does look like Dark is interested in going into ultra play rather than the lurker roach idea that we talked about earlier. Strictly, I assume, because it's off meta. I mean, ultras are very much an intermediary tech. They're not something that you want to stick on into the late game because honestly, you know, once the Terran gets 3/3, once the Terran starts to get into ghost production, liberators, marauders, whatever the case is, you don't really want ultras. They're not good. This is not early Legacy the Void where ultras get what was it, 4 armor from chitinous plating. You only get the 2, which is something, but it really just does not mean they last all that long. Here's this drop. Again, it's 1-1 bio. It's got Stim. It's not gonna get cleaned up all that quickly as the gas will go down, but not much more than that. Ling's gas are fine. But how often do we see chitinous plating getting started before 2-2? Now Dark getting a little bit quicker with his pulls here on the away from the battle cruiser later in the game, which is going to be good for him. Although that being said, the battle cruiser says, "I don't care about this. You just got 1 spore. That is not enough anti-air for anything." So yeah, the spore is not going to go down. But we're going to see 11, 12 workers, even with Maru, or excuse me, even with Dark trying to run it away. It's not going to matter. Maru gets 13 more workers. And now, yeah, look, he has a 4th base. He's taking it right now. It's not there, but he has it done. He's on 76 workers, so he's workers up on the Zerg player. His army is great. If we look at resources lost, he is at half. He's at half to a third of what Dark has lost. So by all metrics here in this game, Dark is doing, or excuse me, Maru is doing everything he wants to do in this game. And it's actually really interesting because the old mantra of playing against the Zerg is you cannot let them sit back and macro. If you let that happen, you will die. And in fairness, Dark hasn't been just sitting back and macroing. Dark has lost what 20 odd drones, 21 drones. He lost a little bit of army, but primarily he's just lost that economic lead. And in doing so, yeah, he's not macroing out and just being untouched. But still, this is not trading army for army. This is not a lot of creep removal. But Maru is very comfortable in this late game scenario. We saw the Ghost Academy go down. He's going to be able to get into that Ghost Tech much quicker in this, or without too much long in this game. So now we have the first true engagement happening here as Blinding Cloud's going to get dropped on all these tanks. But Maru has a really good split of the tanks on the back line, but even still, Ling's pushing in, Bane's, Roach is pushing on in, and it looks like Dark is going to break this push of Maru. And well, you know what? That's what happens when you got this Roachling Bane composition. Maybe in the late game, once you have 3-3 bio and all that, it's not going to do as much, and ghosts and things like that. But for right now, into that choke, Dark's going to be able to clean that one up rather easily. Those Blinding Clouds were tremendous. And even with the 2 upgrade deficit, Maru is forced back here on his quadrant of the map. But again, he also traded fairly well. All right, excuse me, not at all. He also traded out some of the army, so it wasn't, you know, totally... wow, Dark's now maxed out, he's going to run across the map and kill. But that resources loss deficit, where he was about 2,000 up on the Zerg player, well, it's not there anymore. So that's really not all that great for Maru. Now we're going to have Ling's Banes spilling on in, getting on top of these tanks. And, you know, on the one hand side, you want to split your tanks up. It means that you don't get piles dropped on them. It means Blinding Clouds are not going to be as efficient. On the other hand, it means that you're not going to have every single tank firing all the time. Which is, of course, the problem when you're trying to wipe out a large amount of Banes, a large amount of Ravagers, things like that. But now, Dark, kind of sensing blood in the water here, says, yes, time to bring my Queens, try to add that extra anti-air damage, time to add that extra healing that is so impactful as the Banes come crashing on in to so many of these tanks. But, I mean, that's not cost-effective. You want the Banes to go into the army, not the tanks. So, you know, we were praising Dark here for his cost-effective trades in the last fight. We're not there anymore. That was really not efficient for Dark in the slightest. Now this bio is going to find its way on in to the natural. Just Lings to counter. And yeah, the equal upgrades, yeah, General Glands effectively makes these 5-3 Lings. But even still, the nice surface area, the lack thereof, that Maru has been able to enforce means that, yeah, he's going to be able to get a decent trade here, move on back. The lack of Vipers means there's only one Parasitic Bomb, which means, you know, it's going to be fine. That being said, Dark... He's got the rest of this shut down. Not much more that Maru's going to be able to do with this particular drop. Although we'll get a little bit of creep. That's nice. I should be noted that Maru was rather late with his 2-2. Or with his 3-3, excuse me. He had a big window there where he was not getting his upgrade started. I think maybe he was just trying to hit a 2-2 timing push. But when that got broken, we did see him start his +3 after that. What is this? The 7th base? We'll get canceled here. But what this means is that while there is a significant timing window of 3-3 versus 2-2, it's not quite as big as it could have been in this game. Where do we stand? Maru, he is on his 5 bases, so he's pretty happy. I mean, once you get to 6 or 7, sure, that's going to be nice. But in general, 5 bases, fantastic. No Terran player is going to be complaining about that one. His Ling's Banes are going to come filtering on in here, trying to knock this planetary down, but they're not enough Banes to kill this. So yeah, we're going to see a couple SCVs go down. At this point, honestly, Maru's okay with that. There's the argument to be made that eventually a Terran player in the late game doesn't want to be above 60 workers because you have mules. Because you have that ability to just really only need to be gas mining and building structures with the SCV count you have. So going on down to 68 here, he will keep rebuilding SCVs for now because his bank is not quite where he wants it to be. But we're starting to get to that point where the SCV count for the Terran player is not nearly as impactful as having a high worker count for any other race would be at this point in the game. But the other thing to look at is just, man, look at the upgrades coming in here from Dark. We're getting Pathogen Glands. We're getting, what is it? We're getting Ultra Speed. We're getting 3-3. We're getting Overlord Speed. We're getting pretty much, Dark's pretty much rounding out every aspect of the tech tree for every building that he has. Now, I still think I want to see Lurkers in this game, or at least the ability to move into them. Although as this game goes later and later and the ghost count goes higher and higher, we're going to start to hit a point where even the Lurkers are not going to be that cost effective. Of course, kind of the ultimate, quote-unquote, ultimate Zerg late game composition, because I'm not sure that there is one true ultimate Zerg late game composition. It's very much as it has always been about, you know, ping-ponging your opponent back through different tech compositions. You know, it's of course when you have Lurkers and you have Broodlords and you have Infestors, or just Broodlord Infestor in general, to deal with these, really to deal with the ghosts, right? You need something to cancel those snipes. And the ability to do that really strong area denial is going to be cut out a little bit, but base will go down. So at the end of the day, it's fine. With Broodlords and Lurkers and Broodlords, Lurkers, and Infestors, you actually have a really strong area denial that you kind of like I guess, tanks and liberators, where the Broodlord supplements the lurker range, lurker supplement the Broodlord range, and it's just so hard to get into that area. You know, I don't know that we're going to see that this game, although that being said, we do have +1 arrow underway, so this might be a very late game transition that we're going to see Dark go for. As I love the use of Burrow as well. This is something we've started to see really Serral start to push forward over the last 6 months, and we started to see other Zerg players well, I guess Serral and Raynor really started pushing, and then we started to see other players really take advantage of it as well, where you get your lurker, you get Burrow with +2 actually. You get it very early on the tech tree, and then it just provides so much utility over the course of the game. As hold that thought, we got a big push coming on in here on the left side and the right side, as that base will be forced. Actually, was that killed? Yeah, a base was killed here on the right side here. 3-3 cracklings. They're no joke. 13 more workers will go down, and again, we're seeing the benefit of the burrow. At the very least, it forces a scan. Scans are 250 minerals, and well, eventually you will get them back, and scans feel almost limitless in this late game. They're not zero, especially if you did just lose a bunch of SCVs and are trying to recover that a little bit. But on top of that, getting that burrow early forces scans. It gives you so much vision on the map. It allows you to deny Terran economy so well. It really just gives you so much more utility that we started to see Zerg players really commit to it earlier and earlier and earlier, just because of how much it provides. Now, I believe Dark got that one a little bit later than that 2-2 timing, but still, we are starting to see the value of it. He forced 2 scans. He killed a third base. Because again, 6-3 cracklings. Kind of scary. It's interesting seeing Dark really commit so much here on the left side. Because in all honesty, the third base, well, what was the third base, is not really all that useful anymore. It's finally this, battlecruiser won't even go down. I wouldn't even mind seeing that battlecruiser go and be taken out and just be sacrificed, because at this point it's not really doing all that much. There we go. Now we have the Nidus go down. Now there's going to be another one popping up here. So even with the shutdown, we're also going to see some value. And yes, Dark has done a good job of knocking down the economy of Maru. I mean, of doing damage to the economy of Maru, not necessarily knocking down. But the big deal now is he's at least starting to get on top of the production of the Terran players. These ghosts, you got to be very careful. Yeah, Banelings, it takes like 3 or 4 Banelings to kill a ghost, but if you're able to get on top of them like this is what Maru does not want. He just lost, I don't even want to know, like 7 ghosts in that fight. We talked earlier in this game about how Maru is better than pretty much anyone else at keeping his ghost alive and maintaining that value over the course of a game. Well, he just lost a lot of them there. If we look for resources lost, I wish I'd shown it previously, because that is a significant delta. But now, finally, the vision in the main base of Maru is gone. He's mining off of the third base, kind of. But you got to remember, he did lose his, 7th base? 6th base? Sixth base. Which does mean something. I mean, at this point, we're not seeing the economy go too poorly, because Maru does have a big bank. And now we got another big Baneling bust coming on in here. Look at what Dark is doing, by the way. He's doing such a good job of maintaining his vision in the sky. He's overbuilt Overseers to such an extreme that we cannot just see Maru target them down. And that means he's going to get a lot more ghosts than he might otherwise have. And Maru's ghost count, we talked about critical mass, about like 10 to 12 ghosts. Maybe even, above that, it's even better. He's only at 8. His ghost count is not really quite at that point that he's looking for, and much has been made of Dark's ability, or Maru's ability, to play the late game. We don't really think of Dark as a super late game player. He's got a good early late game timing. He's terrifying in the mid game, but we don't think of him on the same level as a Rogue or a Serral in terms of being a player that plays the late game to a fault. But he is playing this late game against Maru absolutely masterfully. And we got to remember here, this is a knockout game. We're in the loser bracket, round 4 here. Loser of this entire series, not this game, they're going to pop out top 12. Which is, honestly, that's kind of a disappointment for Dark and Maru right now. As we will see Ultras, they're trying to harass, but Ultras versus Ghosts are not exactly something that you're looking for. Here's another base will go down, but the base of Maru going down as well. Another planetary. It's so hard to take that, what do you want to call that? The 4 o'clock base. And now with Banelings come crashing on in, more and more Ultras, those Banelings are going to get so many SCVs. The economy of Maru now well and truly in the dumps. We have Ultras, we have Ravagers, we have Lings, we have Banes, just about every which position. Maru is struggling to get himself into a position where he can bring his army together, where he can start to beat back this unrelenting Zerg aggression, because the Nidus all over the place is causing so many issues. For our Terran player. Generally, it's Maru at this point of the game where it's just making it so hard for the Zerg player to figure out where he needs to be. But in this game, yeah, Dark, he is swarming everywhere. We're going to see this core 5th base go down. Nothing you can do to save it. Ghosts are going to look for their snipes, but they're all so low. Can we see any damage on them? No. So the Ultras will go down. The Lings will go down. The army of Dark has gone down. But I think in the balance of things, he's going to judge that one well worth it. Now he's started to take Maru's bases. Now he's taken both the 3 and the 9 o'clock base. One of those should be Maru's. And as it is not, as long as Dark is going to be able to mine this out, notice he is trying to super saturate this forward base right here, right now, just to make sure that he can get as much money out of it as he can before Dark takes it, or Maru takes it back eventually. Well, that just means there's going to be more money in the coffers over the long game for Dark than it is for Maru, which is always going to be fantastic for the Zerg player. And it will allow him to suffer the resource deficit in a mined out map. That being said, it's only 6k resources. This has been an incredibly cost-effective Zerg army here in this late game. And now we're gonna see Ultras going on in, but that's snipes. That's a lot of snipes. That Ultra is dead. And the Queens are doing what they can, but I mean, with Ghost out, also you can just kind of EMP them, and then that's fine. Ultra's going down here. Maru's army on the left side is starting to crush on through. His economy's dead, and very, very dead, but his army is starting to look somewhat good here. Lings will get this round though, and with the Ultras here behind, it will be forced to be picked up. And this is where it gets scary, because Dark's not really going to ever allow Maru to drop this army back down. Maybe if he can play around with dead airspace or something, but I mean, with the Lings, with the Ultras underneath, it's going to be so hard here for actually the medevacs to unload, as they were going the right side base going down as well. Again, Dark is swarming. The army supply doesn't tell the story, but the general supply does. That and the bank. Dark is mining so much. He's mining 3 times, almost. 1.5 times, 2 times as much as the Terran player at this point. He has every base that he could want. Really, Maru, he's back down on his core 5. And that 5th base that he has, by the way, it only has 4 mineral patches left. He does not have a lot of money. And yeah, that base, that's a little bit harder to take there for Maru. It's not quite on creep yet, but again, Dark has so much of this map right now in creep spread. It's just in tempo as well. As we're going to see Lings, Ultras come on in, try to knock down this last army of Maru, because that truly is what it is. This army goes down. And really, it is going to be curtains here for Maru. He fights, he does what he can. And again, his late game control is some of the best, but at this point, it does not matter. Supply tells the tale. And Dark, he takes game number 1. And what a game we got in that game number 1. Dark and Maru at times both looking incredible, but at the end, in the late game, it was all about trades. It was all about Dark's ability to get on top of the economy of Maru time and time and time again, but more importantly, to take money from Maru's side of the map. At the same time where we saw the 5th base, even the 6th base start to mine out for Maru, Dark took Maru's bases. He did not allow Maru to keep expanding. He kept him constrained on the core 5, and then at that point, there's only so much you can do, only so much cost effectiveness that you can find. And in all honesty, the cost effectiveness of Maru's army, not really there. It was only about a 6,000 resource differential for the majority of that game, which in a TVZ in the late game, especially when there are ghosts on the field and tanks, and really ghost tank at that point, no liberators, that is an impressive feat, especially when your army consists of rather low tech units, you know, Ultras and Ravagers and Banelings and things like that. This is not a Hydra Lurker Viper composition or a Broodlord Infestor composition where, you know, you're able to trade a lot more effectively. It's a really good control there from Dark in the mid game and the late game to make sure that he was able to trade well enough to really just start to dominate the map. And once he dominated the map, once kind of put Maru in a position where he could not get enough money, it's only a matter of time. That, and of course, getting, I think it was like 12 ghosts around Maru's 5th base really was what started that slide down, because again, the late game composition of a Terran player is very much predicated around, at least the style that Maru plays is very much built around this ghost idea. You get really as many ghosts as you can get, 15, 20 ghosts, and they're so cost effective against pretty much everything. They're not light units, so banelings don't do all that well against them. They force them into split, of course, because, you know, if things are clumped up enough, banelings are always going to be cost efficient. But other than that, you know, banelings are not all that great outside of, again, the splitting, the abilities for splits and, you know, cancel snipes from a little bit further out. They do bonus damage to light, so they're fantastic against Zerglings, which would look to get on top of them. Their snipes they do insane damage, so you can remove pretty much anything from the map that you wish. Oh, and yeah, they can cloak, so if you knock down the detection, you can't hit them. And did I mention that they have a lot of HP? So they are probably the strongest tool in a high-level Terran's late-game arsenal. They do require significant APM to keep alive and to manage properly, but if you are Maru, that's not a question. His ghost control is out of this world. That being said, we got a little cheeky move coming out from Maru here in this game number 2. This is going to be a 2-Rex, by the way, for what it's worth. We do see these couple Marines moving out on the map early, just trying to catch an Overlord in the middle of the map. Supply block Dark for a time, remove some vision on the map from Dark, but they're not going to be able to accomplish any of that, and instead, well, they got a couple Lings in their base. Again, not that big of a deal. This is a reactor barracks, and there is a tech lab on the second barracks. Oh, wait, what? This is 3-Racks? Oh, this is 3-Racks, excuse me. I saw what I thought was a second barracks finishing. I'm like, oh yeah, 2-Racks. Okay, no. This is going to be an intensely aggressive opener for Maru as he takes a page from a modern TVP opener. The question really is whether Dark is going to expect it, because he has seen more than the normal amount of Marines. But you know what? That's kind of a 2-Racks number. Maru has only allowed, really, for Dark to see the 2-Racks number of Marines, the reactor barracks and the second racks, whatever. When we see all these Marines move out with stim and combat shields, it's going to be scary. But of course, Dark, he knows something's up. I don't know exactly what he saw, but we have the Baneling Nest underway. He's getting some of these legs because he knows this is a 2-Racks. And, you know, one of the ways you can hold a 2-Racks is with you know, 4 Banes and then 25, 30 odd Lings, a couple Queens, you're fine. You just get a couple less Lings early on, and then you get a couple more Banes, and you're still able to ward that off. So that may be just the read that Dark's going for, where he's like, yeah, it's going to be a 2-Racks. I need some Banes, I need some Lings, it's going to be fine. But that's not what this is. There are a lot more Marines running across the map right now than Dark would expect at this time in the game, given that 2-Racks read. So now really the question is whether Dark is going to be able to defend properly. 7 Banelings are on the way as he spends all of his gas on that. No upgrades here. Granted, he can't really afford upgrades anyways, but because he can't get upgrades yet anyways. But no gas save for that. No gas save for anything but the defense tiers. 10 Banelings are going to be the order of the game. I mean, that's the proper play. This is. I'm not going to say it's all in for Maru, but it has to get some. It has to get a lot of damage done. This is a very powerful timing, but it's not one without sacrifice. I mean, we don't even have a starport done yet for Maru in this game. He only has that factory. Or sorry, he does have the starport, but we don't have any medevacs on the field just yet, and that does mean that this army for Maru, it is incredibly fragile. It is incredibly fragile. Should there be a surround? Should the Banelings get on top of it? Or just in general, you know, every time you force a stim, that is effectively 20-odd% of the army's HP. That's a lot. And sure, it gives you a lot of additional DPS, but it's not something you want to do willy-nilly. It's not something you want to do flagrantly. There we go. +1 armor is on the way. Dark doing that thing where you're like, there's a lot of Terran pressure potential on the map right now. I don't really want to go and commit to anything too expensive because I just need to make sure I have units. I need to make sure I can defend properly. But again, this is a 3-Racks with a very quick +1. And now, what are the downsides? Well, third base is much later than it would normally be in a TVZ. +1 armor is going to be very late indeed. Plus 2-2. All these things are delayed, but right now, this timing is powerful. And Baneling speed is not yet done, which means Maru can maybe target these Banelings down. Now, you got to get a couple of them first. You can probably get 5. With this army size, you can probably, get 3 or 4 Banelings down before anything happens. As we will see the hot pickup not quite get enough. As 5 of those Marines will go down. But as scary as the 3-Racks timing is, I'm not as scared of it, or scared of the first timing as I am of this one. Where +1 is done, we're 4 medevacs on the field where we have tanks. And Maru, he's been doing that thing where, you know, you're like, I'm scouted as the Terran player with this 3. Actually, my opponent knows I got a lot of army on the map, so I understand that they are going to be building a lot of stuff. But when they build a lot of stuff early, you know what they don't do? They don't build economy. They don't build tech. Which means that if I go for a later timing, I go for a much later timing where I just keep building up, maybe I caught them in a position where they don't want to be. As the third base is now going to get down here from our, that's 7:30 timing. Again, we're really comparing this to TVP builds right now, as that is where this is kind of most commonly done. But look at this surround, look at this flank that we see Dark setting up for. We're gonna have to see whether it's gonna work. Now tanks are gonna get some really good shots on this Banelings, but is it gonna be enough? The answer is no. And there we go, Dark. He's gonna be able to clean this push up. He's gonna be able to force Maru back. And now Dark sitting pretty here in this game. His +1 attack is about halfway done. His armor is done, so we got upgrade parity. His +2 armor is on the way. He's getting additional bases. Yeah, losing that 4th is not great, but he's got a 4th base on the north side. He has a macro hatch as well. He is in a fantastic position in this game. I just kind of wish he'd be able to spend his money a little bit more, but that is the downside of losing that 4th base when you do. But what do we have Maru here doing? He's like, yeah, okay, I can't break you in one spot. That's fine. I gotta break you, and maybe in 2 spots. If he puts an army on the left, puts an army on the right. But I mean, Dark is just all over this. That being said, good target fire, but is it going to be good enough here? Maru says it is. Is he going to drop everything off? The queens are going to start to go down here. The Banelings are all dead. The Lings are going down. In fact, they're all dead here as well. So we're going to see 2-3 queens go down, and now the army on the right is going to have to rotate on into the left here. So much of this defensive ability of Dark's now gone as the queens go down. Only 2 queens on the map. So we talked about being able to spend your money. Dark can't even do that. He does not have the queen count for it. He cannot inject anymore. And now Maru's starting to take that supply lead. Yeah, he's going to lose a little bit of his SCVs on the 3rd, losing a tank as well. But the rally's going to be able enough to clean that one off. In the next push, or maybe not the next push, but the push after that, now are going to be the ones that are going to be intensely terrifying for Maru here in this game number 2. Because what he has done, he's denied so much transfer, or so much inject energy on these hatcheries. The production for Dark in this game is going to be sorely lacking. I mean, his money is staying low because he's getting upgrades and he's getting more queens and he's doing all that, but his larva production is going to be pretty sorely stunted. And we're going to start to see that soon as the supply of Maru really should start to skyrocket ahead just a little bit more. And now realizing that he's done so much damage on the left-hand side, it gives him license to move out on the right-hand side here. The 4th base is going to come under fire, and Dark is just not in position to defend this. So we have a 3-base Zerg now against a 3-base Terran. 4th base, luckily there is another expand here, but I mean, for the most part, Maru's doing a really good job of at least trading cost effectively against that. Banelings look to come crashing on into this mineral line once again. The tank's not really doing all that much, and the Banelings into the mineral line, 21 workers will go down, but it does not matter because that has been army for economy traded, whereas Maru's army is still around. It is a 40 army supply lead. He has 1-1. Yeah, he's down on upgrades compared to this moment, but it doesn't really matter anymore, as Dark is going to get supply blocked, or just about off this, as well as all of the overlords go down. Now the Banelings, the last of them, are going to try to come crashing on in, but the tanks, the target fire is too damn good. Maru, he has broken Dark in this game. Yeah, his economy is not great, but that does not matter anymore. It's all about the army. It's all about how much about how much he can do. That's not what your army can do for you. That's what you can do for your army. And in this case, Maru saying, I can win the game with this army, with a 1 tank that is so gosh darn low. And there we have it. GG Maru. He takes game 2. And folks, we're going to the ace match to determine who moves on and who goes home in TSL 8. So, game 1, we see Dark take it in a marathon 24-minute game. Just out-trading and out-trading and out-trading. Or at least trading more effectively than a Zerg player has any right to do in this matchup. But then game 2, Maru says, well, unfettered aggression, unchained aggression here. It's going to be 3 racks. Even I don't get enough damage done with that. That's fine because the follow-up, and eventually I'm going to split you up too much, Dark. Eventually I'm going to catch you off guard. I'm going to kill all your queens. I'm going to make it so you don't have enough army anymore. And then I'm going to kill your bases, and then I'm going to kill you. Which side of these players are we going to see in this game number 3? Does Dark hold the aggression better if that's what happens? Does Maru trade better in the late game? Does he really show that incredible late game acumen that we have been talking about over, well, not just over this series, but just in general, as we've seen as we've seen Maru just absolutely own, absolutely dominate the post 20-minute TVZ meta. I don't know. And now it is interesting. We do notice that Dark is he's a little bit scared of any sort of potential 2 racks play here in this game number 3. This is something that, well, Maru is known to do. This is how he knocked out Rogue in the King of Battles. Game number... Actually, wait, no. Sorry. This is how he knocked out Dark in King of Battles. Game 5 of the semifinals. On this very map, we saw 2 racks in the middle of the map. The RNG of the SCV meant that both barracks were able to complete. And eventually, Maru did enough damage. He killed off enough drones that Dark was not in the position he wanted to be, and Dark took it. And Maru took it later on. So there was some history between these players recently. I mean, as much as we're talking about Dark, owning the late game, we saw Maru owning the late game. We did see Dark win that late game number 1. And I would like to remind you, in the King of Battle semis, this was a series that Dark took to 5 games and looked very good in the games he won and even in the games that he lost. So, again, and we like to talk about how good Maru is in this matchup, as third base is going to be denied. I mean, that's so annoying there for the Zerg player. Not even the end of the world, but losing a drone that's trying to take your third, it just feels so bad. Again, Dark is a worthy competitor, and we have seen Maru bleed. As of course, Rogue did win the GSL Super Tournament in 7 games over Maru 2 weeks ago. I mean, this Reaper is got to be the MVP. It's not going to get the Creep Tumor. Say, man, this Creep Tumor, if it denies the third base and gets a Creep Tumor, MVP Reaper. Best Reaper you've ever seen. But now, I mean, look how it's a 3-minute third base coming down from Dark at this point. It's not the end of the world. It was still taking about 35 supply, but that's about 7 supply too late. That's about 30 seconds too late, maybe even longer. Not the best situation for Dark at this point. Not trying to say this game is over by any stretch of the imagination, but just minor things. Minor things that may eventually turn into major things. As this Reaper looks like it will. Yeah, it will go down as Queen's moving into position. So no real map control for Maru anymore. And I mean, ideally, you're keeping that Reaper alive because it allows you to get damage done with your reactor, with your Hellions, excuse me, and the Hellion. That being said, there are no Hellions in this game, so the Reaper is far less important. As we've been talking about the 2-1-1. We didn't see it in game 1. We saw the 3 racks in game 2, which I guess, technically has 2 barracks in it, but, it's too exclusive, not too inclusive. So we got this 2-1 play coming from Maru in this game, and he's shown tremendous skill with it. I mean, we see him do that one adaptation where he adds the 3rd medevac with the Widow Mine after the first 2 that just gives so much more additional pressure. I mean, yeah, it does delay upgrades a little bit longer, but again, that additional pressure, especially when Zerg players are not expecting it, it's fantastic. But if you look at what we see on the other side of the map here, this is going to be a 4-minute Roach War and coming down from Dark in this game. You build 12, 15 Roaches, you're going to be in a damn good spot to deal with 16 Marines with Stim. And on this map in particular, they will be able to go and deny the third base for quite a time once we see the third base try to get started here, once the 2-1-1 gets pushed back from Dark. So assuming as long as he has enough defensive Roaches, which he should know what's happening here. He saw the amount of Marines out on the map. This is going to be a very nice situation for our Dragon Phoenix Gaming player. So the primary goal of any 2-1-1 is not to kill the Zerg, although that is nice. And I guess if you want to talk about like that is, I guess, the primary goal. But the attainable goal of a 2-1-1 really is to keep the creep spread back, is to ideally delay the 4th base, which we're seeing Dark do here. It's to really get on top of that creep spread, push it really far back, ideally get a queen or 2, really just lean into the Zerg player, deny any sort of droning, deny upgrades, do things like that. But the interesting thing here is that a medevac on the right side. Yeah, there's the Widow Mine medevac. So now we see another adaptation of this 2-1-1 style. So yes, there is the 3rd medevac, and traditionally what we've seen Maru do is add that to his pushing force. But because it's Roaches and not Lings on the defense here, Maru's kind of realizing that that pushing force is not really going to care about having an additional Weta Miner. Like 4 additional Marines doesn't really do all that much for you. But if you drop that into a natural and you drop Weta Mines on top, oh, look how cheeky he's being here. Oh, is he gonna get? Oh no, okay, no value. But he also kills the creep steamer, so hey, there we go. But even still, if you're able to force Dark to maybe go back into his main base, maybe your main army, your 16 Marines, can find some value outside of the third. Now the Roaches, they were not fooled, and yeah, Maru's gonna be forced to pick back up your go home, or at least leave the vicinity. So at this point, we need to ask ourselves whether Maru has found enough value. And I would posit the answer is no. He's killed 2 workers. He's not killed any queens. He's got maybe a roach or 2, but nothing too significant. And he's delayed the creep spread just a little bit. He's delayed the 4th base just a little bit. But in this roach, what it will be 1-1 roaches into Hydra Lurker style, you're content to stay on 3 or 4 bases for a while. You're not nearly as larva starved as the Lingbane style. So reason number 1 to go for a 4th base, to make sure you just have that additional larva. It's not really there. You're not really quite as worried about your income. I mean, you are, but roaches are pretty supply dense, so you don't want to get your drone count too high. But even still, you can kind of, this style will trade efficiently until there's 2-2, until there's 3-3. So you don't really have that. Dark's going to be very happy with how this situation is going. So now we're going to, well, that being said, we do have this big army pushing on in here, trying to get on top of the upgrades even. And will they get it? Yeah, they're going to get +1 armor. They're not going to get the attack, but still, getting that armor, oh, it's going to be fantastic now. So there's always going to be an additional upgrade as the lead for Maru in this game, whether it's, 1-1 versus 1-0, whether it's going to be 2-2 versus 2-1. I mean, even if we don't have those discrete double upgrade timings, they're going to be the single upgrade timings that are going to be rather nice indeed. But you also got to remember here, Dark, in all honesty, in this army, he really cares about the ranged attack more than he does about the armor. Really, just simply because the lurkers are the key component there, and lurkers, if they're getting fired upon, they're really not doing their job. Kind of like tanks don't really care about getting armor for them because, well, if tanks are coming under fire, they're already dead anyways. Man, can you imagine how painful it would be if like lurkers and banelings did friendly fire? Because, like, tanks, they do tons of damage, but their downsides, of course, they take a while to siege up. I mean, so do lurkers, I guess, but they do friendly fire and they have minimum range. Lurkers don't really have that, but of course, they have a less important splash radius where they go in a line instead of a circle. So, because of how things work with that, it's going to be a fantastic fungal here. Are we going to see a second? We will. So this army, a lot of these Marines are just going to melt away here. And suddenly that push from Maru on the right side is gone. It's done. Dark will not allow Maru to have the gall to move on his side of the map right now. And notice what Dark is doing. He could do the traditional Zerg thing and expand along the bottom side, as most Zergs do. That's expected. That's fine. But instead he's saying, look, I have all my army heroes on the left side. I have my creep spread on the left side. I'm going to take a hatchery on the bottom side just because, I mean, might as well. Because it's kind of hard for you to push into. But he is taking his quote-unquote dangerous expansions, his outlying expansions, towards the Terran base. But most importantly, it's towards where his army wants to be. And also it's where his creep spread is. So it makes that dangerous position where he, takes the high ground, rich double gas position. Well, with the creep spread here, it's a lot easier for him to kill, hold than to try to take the other one, which is kind of much more Terran favored anyways. And of course, once he gets this additional gas, I mean, infestors are going to be so powerful. You're going to be able to get so many of them, lurkers as well. That being said, the base is going to go down because, Dark, not quite where he wants to be just yet. Lanes are going to come filtering on in. The fungal's going to be okay, but it's not going to be great. And Ghosts are going to get some good snipes off. So Dark's going to have to go back a little bit longer, wait a little bit longer here to take the fight that he's looking for. His lurkers, of course, with their insane amounts of HP, they take a couple tank shots before they do go down here. And that scan is going to run on out. But there we got another one. Tanks are only in range of the forward lurker. And Ghosts are going to try to do what they can to get some snipes off, but Overlord is going to be sacrificed in just to provide the vision to make sure that these lurkers do get their spines. As now it looks like Dark more interested. Let's see, what is this timing he's waiting for? But yeah, +1 attack is going to be done rather soon. And maybe it's the fungal, but anyway, yeah, the push coming on in here now. Nice blinding clouds. Nice push in general. And it looks like Dark is going to be able to break Maru, but the answer is no. There's just not quite enough here. Dark, by the same measure, though, cannot break into the Zerg position. Too many lurkers. So at the end of the day, both players are going to go down about 50 supply and realize that they're going to hold the positions that they had. So that means Maru's going to have to try to find a different attack point, one that is much further away from his bases, one that is a little bit harder to rally to, but also one that has a little bit less creep around it. Now, it really feels what Maru is missing in this game more than anything else is personal cloaking. Is Ghosts, it feels like they're struggling to get their snipes off. I mean, we saw some good snipes there, don't get me wrong, but it does feel like just a little bit that that Maru is struggling to find the cost effectiveness with these Ghosts that we're used to seeing from him. And if you notice, he's only about 3,000 resources lost different. At 13 minutes into this game, we're seeing Dark once again play this incredibly cost-efficient style. And now this time, to be fair, the style that Dark is playing is designed to be cost-efficient. It's designed to have less bases, to be a little bit less maneuverable, but to be much more cost-efficient. So that 3,000 resources lost is kind of much more in line with what you would expect out of the style. And we will have 3-3 soon. We will have 3-3. We will have 2 tanks at a time coming out here. Enhanced shockwaves as well. So really that's for the Ghosts more than anything, or for the Vipers more than anything else. But we will have situations here where Maru can maybe try to take a fight, but now we have the push from Dark coming on in before Maru is allowed to get set up here. These tanks are going to go down immediately. There will be no missile turrets. There will be no hard contain. And these snipes are going to be good, but they're not going to be great. And now, of course, Abducts here. Not as many goats as you can get, but EMPs will remove most of the energy from the Zerg player here. Now it's Maru's turn to move forward just a little bit, because of course every time you run away from a Terran, if they're sniping, you're going to lose some units. So that's going to be always the downside here. But Dark is doing a very good job of making sure that he's more pressuring. He's not really ever put in a position where he has to run away, as the double sensor tower is really not doing all that much. Not doing all that much for Maru. Much more the single one here is, again, the push on the left-hand side. Dark breaking through this defensive position of Maru. He's microing, doing what he can, but he has lost so many tanks in this game. 8 tanks in this game already, which is honestly pretty significant. Even if he is on 5 bases, that's not what you want to see. So again, Maru, you'll notice from his expand pattern that he's kind of doing the same thing that we saw Dark doing earlier on, where he's expanded a bunch to the right side. He has planetaries there. He has other orbitals that he can take if he wants. Which really, what this allows him to do is just, again, defend kind of his push with his rally. But again, this is a map. 2000 Atmospheres is a map that has multiple different attack patterns. So Dark's saying, hey, if you're going to attack through the right side, that means you're going to have a weak underbelly here. I'm going to crush through that, do what I can. And yeah, there are Liberators out, sure. But, well, now it's just time to run away. He gets a decent trade. And with that Nidus there, I thought that was going to be an offensive Nidus to pour reinforcements into, but instead, no. It's a defensive one. It allows him to get damage and get out here. As again, these lurkers, these random lurkers around the map are just finding tons of value. But the Queens, that's not exactly where they want to be. They will move forward, and the tanks are doing a decent job. The Liberator is now dead. The tanks are, or excuse me, the Queens are not going to go down after all. Good hold there from Dark on the right side. Now Maru pushing it on the left, trying to knock down this base that Dark has kind of been holding on and off over the last 5 or so minutes, but it looks like the pressure from Maru is going to be together enough that this base will eventually go down. It's not all that healthy right now, And there we go. The base will go down. So despite everything that has happened in this game, we still have Dark sitting here about 3,000, 3,500 resources lost differential. He's just been so efficient. He's just been trading so incredibly well with these lurkers and just, again, the support units as well. But primarily, the big thing, it's these lurkers. It's the ability to not only use them as a main force, which kind of does age out as the game goes on. You get enough ghosts, and suddenly the lurkers are just too expensive. But it is also his ability to put them all around the map, to deny mining, to deny vision, to put pressure on the map, to have these little annoying notifications at the back of Maru's head that he has to deal with, that is allowing this main army to trade so much better. And pretty soon he's going to round out his ground upgrades. He's going to have +3 attack. These Banes that are going to run on in are going to be that much more impactful. His Bane's going to come crashing on in to this base. I mean, the lurkers are what are going to kill it. I mean, you don't want that amount of Banelings to kill a planetary, especially, of course, when you have these lurkers that do bonus damage to armor and they just annihilate planetaries so quickly. But now we're going to see the ghost try to move on in, and notice here, personal cloaking is now done. This is where Maru gets really scary. He's just able to knock down all the detection, and then, well, ghosts snipe everything and you lose an army. But this is Dark's adaptation. We saw it in game 1, we saw it in game 2. I guess we didn't see it in game 2, but we've already seen it in game 3. Realizing that, honestly, Terran play in the late game is not a player you really want to take a head-on fight against. It feels very hard. We just see Dark kind of to a fault, almost, making sure that he just takes fights elsewhere. So there are a lot of units in that Nidus. We see a bunch of lurkers, a bunch of queens as well, and he's just going to jump on top of the Terran production. That, the old saying goes, you camp a Terran's production, you win the game here. And we're going to see so many barracks go down, so many add-ons go down here. And yes, this base has died, but Maru has now had to move so much of his army back to defend that maybe this is a push that Dark can break. But that being said, it looks like that answer will be no for now, as another Nidus will pop on up here. So much of the production of the Terran player is now dead, it's now gone, and these ghosts cannot move up to the high ground. There are enough lurkers on the high ground with enough splash that it's just not a thing. But now the game is getting crazy because Dark is going to lose the space on the upper left. Even as Maru has effectively lost his main, he's lost so much production, actually. And I don't know that he's realized just how much he's lost just yet. He's sitting here on he does not have on 3 barracks and 1 factory. He's 3 barracks, 1 factory, and that is it. So we will start to see his bank go up a little bit, but it's not a bank that's going up because he's trading well or anything. It's a bank that's going up because he actually cannot rebuild any sort of army here in this game. He's going to lose the Ghost Academy. He's going to lose so much. He's losing his barracks. And yeah, we're going to see Maru try to push on in, but at this point, Dark owns the high ground. There are 3 Nidus here, 3 Nidai here. There is so much possible in them as well. We're going to see things. Actually, it looks like, yeah, Dark's just leaving. He says, my work is done. There's nothing in the main base anymore. And he would be correct. And I love the addition of the creep spread too. It just forces another scan, or maintains vision in the main base, which is not something that Maru wants to deal with. Now, I guess the one upside here for Maru maybe is it gives him the potential to kind of democratize his production just a little bit more. He no longer has to, his rally distances are always going to be a little bit shorter now because his army's not coming from the main. But on the flip side, well, breakthrough Krakens find their way into this position, and they will start to knock things down. But again, the rally is closer to these bases that Maru is trying to defend. So units are going to pop out kind of immediately into a position where they can defend things, which is always going to be something. And Maru has been able to take the rich Vespine base of his own. He's going to be able to start putting pressure here on the 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock position. With all these Liberators sieging on up, it's going to be difficult for the lurkers to really stay alive. That being said, the ground army is not doing all that much. It really is down to the scans and the air fleet for Maru to really make something happen. As a couple queens will give their life for the cause. Man, it is so impressive the way Dark has been just active on the map over the course of this game. When we see Maru be just untouchable in this matchup, he just turtles up so well. he gets to this point where he just doesn't take damage anymore. He's able to start putting damage to you, and eventually he's just going to outtrade you to such an extreme extent that it doesn't matter. But I don't know whether maybe it's the maps, because this is only a best of 3 and the pick bans are a little different. Whether it's just Dark playing better, Maru playing worse. But Dark has gotten more damage to Maru in the late game, in this game and in game 1, than I've seen a Zerg do to Maru in quite a while here. He's just finding those salient points where suddenly the Zerg player or the Terran player just is not, because he has to defend enough. As I think we're going to see another Ghost Academy go down. Sorry, another Ghost Academy and a bunch more barracks, as they will have to be rebuilt. 9 barracks have died in this game. That's not something you see all that often. All right, so game number 1, we saw a Zerg player camp the Terran economy. I said, okay, well, eventually, if Dark takes bases from Maru, it's going to be fine. He's going to be able to out-trade, or at least trade efficiently enough that the economic differential is going to carry the day. In this game number 3, we've seen Dark camp Maru's economy to some extent. But more importantly, we've seen him camp his production, which means that economy, doesn't matter how good it is, it's not going to be allowed to matter. And Maru, again, he's broke. He's not mining nearly as much as his opponent is. Looking at 3 times the economy here for Dark over Maru. And oh, I love this too. There's no detection here on the map really for Dark at this point. We see no missile turrets, nothing like that. So these random infestors all over the map here means that whenever Dark looks to take a fight, we're going to see that magic that Zerg players can do on occasion, where you have that one infestor pop down back from the high, back behind things. Oh, there we go. We got some Neurals on the tanks, but it's not really going to do all that much here. I think getting Fungals on the infestor, or excuse me, on the Ghost is much more important. But hey, it's fancy. It's a cool play. Didn't work, but it's a cool play. So even as Maru is taking all this damage, and Dark is just doing such a good job of dishing it out, Maru will find some value on the bottom side. He will deny this base from Dark, but again, Dark has the entire upper left side mining. He doesn't really care all that much. In fact, now he's mining from a base that should be Maru's, which is where things start to get really scary as the Vikings go down as well. The third base of Maru has been broken. The natural has been broken. The main base has been broken, because why the hell not? And there we go. That's the Fungal and all the Ghosts we're looking for, but we really need to see a follow-up, and we don't have it. Not yet. The scan actually is going to force the infestors back here. The Ghosts from behind a wall say, no. We will be able to get out. We will be able to find value once again. But now the Lings, the Hydras, the Lurker in the main base. We're seeing production go down. We're seeing maybe some orbitals go down here as one is burning. Is it going to go down? Yeah, there's no repair. That's a dead orbital. Oh, the mule, is it going to go? Yes, it will. The last second mule is going to keep the orbital alive. Great job there for Maru, but I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. Maru's not mining. His economy is in the dumps here. His production is really in a terrible spot here. We're starting to see the tech of Maru go down as those tanks will die. Not that many Ghosts remain on the field, as it really is only 10, which is something, but it's not quite enough here. And we're really at the point where Dark can say, look, I will trade my Lurkers away for your tech. It doesn't really matter. The 6-3 Cracklings are going to get on top of the rest of Maru's army. Is the healing going to be enough? I mean, there's a lot of healing on these orbitals, on these medevacs, but the orbital will go down. The army of Maru is falling apart, and he does not have the money to reinforce. Not like Dark has. Not in this game. The tech is going to go down. The production is going to go down. The GG Dark, he kicks Maru out of TSL 8, and the master of TVZ has been slain. Dark, he moves on to the next round. Now, folks, if you like what I do, please feel free to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Beowulf. I stream EPT Cups every Monday, Europe and NA, although maybe less so with holidays coming in. And of course, reminder, like, comment, subscribe to this channel. Let me know. How'd you like the series? What do you want to see more of? And thanks so much for watching, folks. Catch you next time. Stay safe out there.